Hello, Iowa Class A football fans. Welcome to Saints TV. Not your average Joe here with your Friday night preview. It is playoffs. We made it. It's hard to believe that it is week 9, but here we sit, and we're going to get into some matchups. We'll talk about the rankings. We'll look a little bit at what we think might happen tonight and how that might affect next week's games here in Class A Iowa high school football. So, no further ado, let's jump right in and let's start with those rankings released earlier this week. The rankings look like this. Here's your final set of rankings, by the way. These will not be updated. They will not be changed from this point forward. This set of rankings will be used to help determine pods after tonight's games, and we'll also set up the final bracket once we reach the semifinals. In the 10 spot, Woodbury Central, 9, Riverside, 8, Pekin, 7, Maquoketa Valley, Lamar's Galen Catholic in the 6th spot, and Tri Center Neola in the 5. Your top 4 then looks like this. Lisbon at 8-0 comes in on that 4 spot. St. Ansgar holds on to that 3 spot. They finished the season 7-1. Of course, that one loss is to top ranked 8-0 West Hancock by 1 point at their place. So that the state says West Hancock and St. Ansgar both top 4 teams. ACGC in that 2 spot at 8-0, and like the aforementioned West Hancock Eagles also 8-0. They are your number 1 team. So these are the final rankings. If all 4 of those teams, assuming all 4 of those top 4 teams win tonight, when they set up those pods after tonight's games, those 4 teams will be kept apart. So there'll be a West Hancock pod, an ACGC pod, a St. Ansgar pod, and a Lisbon pod. That will then funnel down to one remaining team, and they'll get set up. Like I said, once we get to the semifinals, they'll redo those sort of that final bracket for the semis and finals, also using these rankings as a guideline. So if those 4 teams make it, the 2 would play the 3 and the 1 would play the 4. Of course, if any of those 4 teams don't make it, then they keep going down the list to set those finals up. So what does week 9 look like as we take a look at these matchups here in the first round of the playoffs? 32 teams qualify in Class A. Here are your 32 qualifiers. Not a lot of changes, not a lot of things different than what we predicted starting a couple of weeks ago. Most of those teams that we projected to make the playoffs did in fact make the playoffs. Of course, the big one last week was Wapsie Valley versus Nashua Plainfield for the first spot in their district. Wapsie Valley victorious. So the 1s host the 4. So if you finished first in your district, the reward is you get to host and you play a 4th place team out of a neighboring district. So there are no district rematches. These are all fresh opponents, and they look like this. And let's just go quickly through in the 1st place through 4th place. Of course, the 1st place teams generally heavily favored in these games. We put it through Steve's supercomputer, and Steve made some predictions here. Steve, the Saintly Soothsayer, if you haven't joined us in the past, he is our guru when it comes to picking games. He has a supercomputer he uses to help determine some of these results. He has all of the favorites winning, but he does have Maquoketa Valley on upset alert. He thinks that's a 3-point game. Columbus community gives Maquoketa Valley all they can handle. Maquoketa Valley's been great defensively. So that will be a challenge. It'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. Columbus has played a tough schedule, so he's given them a little credit there as well. One other interesting note, Lake Mills is going to be without their lead back and top tackler in that matchup versus Wapsie Valley. We saw that if you tuned in here on Saints TV to watch the Lake Mills Saints game. Price not in that one. Our understanding is he is not in tonight either. So that gives Wapsie Valley an even bigger advantage there. West Hancock, I think, rolls HMS. That will be a fun one to watch, but I think West Hancock's just too powerful there at the end of the day. Starmont and Lisbon might be another one. Starmont highly ranked early in the season. They were in that top 10. They fall all the way out, finish 4th in their own district. They face off against the Lisbon team, whose strength of schedule wise hasn't played a tough schedule, but they've played everybody that's been put in front of them. And of course, they've gone 8-0 in that or along the way. So that'll be a fun one to watch as well. Generally, I think the 1st place teams roll by 2 touchdowns or more tonight. in those matchups. The second and third place matchups, much more interesting as we look through some of those. I think there's some great games here. Starts off Danville at Bellevue. Both teams have played good schedules. Steve says Danville beats Bellevue on the road tonight. That'd be quite a story. You know, Danville just restarted their football program not all that long ago. So Steve's calling the upset there. He's got Danville 28, Bellevue 24. Logan Magnolia at MMCRU, another upset on the road. He says Logan Magnolia wins at MMCRU. That'll be a fun game. He's got it. Logan Magnolia wins by a touchdown. Earlham and Mount Ayr, a lot of people around the state calling this one an upset. I think Earlham's got a chance to defeat Mount Ayr. Steve says Mount Ayr wins that one. A tight one, but Mount Ayr wins. Newman Catholic at Nashua Plainfield. Interesting matchup here. Team that here on Saints TV, we've played both of these teams, so we know both these teams pretty well. Based on the sling that Thomas McGuire was in when Newman Catholic was here just a couple of weeks ago, I would find it unlikely that he plays tonight for Newman Catholic. So assuming he's out, I think Nashua Plainfield got healthy last week. Eli Kalanoff had been banged up. He looked to be back closer to himself last week. I think Nashua Plainfield has the edge there. Steve agrees. He's got Nashua Plainfield winning there. Northland at Pekin. Again, I think this is going to be a tremendous matchup. Both of these teams spent considerable amounts of time in the top 10. This might be the game of the night and a key game to watch. Steve's got Pekin pulling it off in the end, 31-28. This will be fun because North Lynn is very good defensively. Pekin's very good offensively. That might be a fun one to watch. Linville, Sully, Riverside, Oakland. Riverside rolls in that one. St. Ansgar and South Wynn. Stay tuned right here on Saints TV if you want more information on this game. We're going to post a video here within the hour with kind of a deep dive into the home game here with South Winneshiek versus St. Ansgar. So we'll save Steve's prediction for that one. And then Sibley Ocheyedan at Woodbury Central. The Sibley Ocheyedan team traveled to St. Ansgar last year, had a bunch of young talent, a quarterback who played really well in that game in the first round of the playoffs. Steve's factoring that in, but he's got Woodbury Central pulling off the win there in a tight one. I think Sibley Ocheyedan gives Woodbury Central everything that they want in that one, but at the end of the day, Woodbury Central wins. That's what your 16 matchups look like here as we roll into the first round of the playoffs. Remember, sometime tomorrow morning, probably around 10 o'clock, we will get the pods released. So they're going to take these 16 winners from tonight and set up those four pods of four teams with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 teams being kept apart. So Lisbon, St. Ansgar, ACGC, and West Hancock will all have a pod. And then they will fill in each of those, each of the remaining teams from there. A couple of games that will make that job either super easy or really hard. A couple to watch: Earlham and Mount Ayr. They're in different parts of the world. I think whoever wins that game probably impacts one or two of those pods in terms of structure of who goes where and why. So that will be a game that everybody around the state seems to think is going to be a really close game. And I think it has huge impacts on how the pods get set up going forward. The other one there to watch is probably North Lynn at Pekin. Again, what I think will be a close game and probably has some impact on who goes where in those pods. So we will bring you quick cast tomorrow morning. As soon as we get those pods out, we'll go live and give you a quick update on what those pods look like, talk about opponents, and maybe give you a quick preview of some games that we think will be interesting right off the bat next week as we look at week 2 of the playoffs. But for now, it's week 1, right? Week 1 of the playoffs, and there is some exciting games there tonight. Best of luck to everybody out there. Be safe, stay healthy, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.